Hi everyone, welcome to Keto With Me. My name's Chris Martin. This is day 0 of my journey back into keto. What do you mean day 0? Well, just before we get into that, let me just say this is going to be the longest video in my series. The reason is that this video is going to give you the reasons why I'm doing the video series. It'll talk about my previous journey into keto, and it also gives you a lot of context of what my daily video is going to be about. So if you've looked at one of my daily clips and you're wondering like what it is I'm covering and why they're structured the way they are, this will explain it. So I wanted to take a minute and talk about the elephant in the room. And in that case, it's me. I mean, I know a lot of us heavy people tend to poke fun at ourselves, but you're probably looking at this going, okay, I Googled keto, or I went on YouTube looking at keto, and I got this guy showing up for weight loss, and here he is, pretty heavy and so forth. Well, the reason I wanted, first of all, let's just go back a little bit and talk about my previous journey into keto, and then I'll explain to you, again, why I'm doing this. So sorry, I'm all over the place here. So probably about 4 years ago, I had a buddy of mine that was, who said, Chris, he goes, I know you said you wanted to lose some weight and some things. He goes, but have you ever tried keto? And I was like, I've heard of it, but I don't really know what it is. So when he brought it up, I was, first thing I was kind of confused at is that he's really thin, and he's always been thin. I've known him quite a long time. And he even indicated that he does keto. So we'll talk about, his motivations and why he does keto, even though he's a very thin guy, always been thin and so forth. But, so anyway, he had, I shouldn't say use the word convinced, but, we discussed it, and then we both just kind of said, hey, we work together, we're around each other all the time. Let's try this thing out. So, as with most things, I like to do a lot of research. I kind of want to find out, what keto is about, who's talking about it. And I go on specifically YouTube a lot, and I would find, different people on there posting about the keto diet and lifestyle and, this and that and so forth. So that's where we started. And, I can, for me, it was, kind of fumbling around just like, okay, how do you do keto? Obviously the first thing that you find out right away is that, there's like no carbs. We've all heard of low carb diet before and so forth with Atkins and some other things. And if you're, heavy like me for, most of my adult life, not all my life, but most of my adult life, I've tried lots of things. I've done different types of eating styles, low fat, this, that, and another, and I've done low carb before and had some success with it and so forth. But the problem is that, I'd always, fall off the wagon or something and, end up right back here. So anyway, one of the things that I learned from, the first time doing keto is that there was no exact one way to do it. I mean, yes, the definition of keto is like, low carb, high fat. So you'll see this acronym, bouncing around. It's LCHF, low carb, high fat. And a lot of people, I think, agree now that, low carb is beneficial for you. But as soon as you throw the words high fat in there, it's kind of like, oh my gosh, how could you be, out here telling me that, fat is going to be my savior when, for the longest time, the American Medical Association and so forth, and everyone has, fat's bad, they pound it into your head. Well, obviously what we're doing isn't working. So, so there must be something to, this keto thing. So that's, why I did all the research, and I came across, different online resources like Dr. Ken Berry. You'll hear me mention him quite a bit in the series. Dr. Annette Bosworth, I'll mention her in the series. And then there's, the layman folk like, me, who I've seen you know, just there's other folks out there like me who doesn't have a medical background. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to be providing medical advice or anything like that, but I am going to be showing you exactly what I do, and that's kind of what my daily clips, you know, about. So, so I'm hoping that you'll stick around, you know, and you know, for my series. But let's talk a little bit more about, you know, what exactly I'm going to be doing daily, and you know, maybe why you should follow me, and maybe even communicate with me in the comments and threads and stuff, so we can help each other, because I think that's the ultimate goal. We're all out here, you know, trying to get healthy. We're all out here trying to, you know, fix something with ourselves and so forth, and you know, the more we work together, the better it can be. So you've heard me mention that I've done keto before. So if you're wondering, like, if you've done keto before, then why am I looking at you now? Why are you heavy, you know, and talking about your journey back in? And the simple reason, I mean, as I'm human, I fell off the wagon. You know, when I did keto before, I was in it for, you know, a good solid 2 years, and feeling great, amazing. I'm gonna talk about some of the things I felt here in a minute, but you know, at some point I just, I think just with anything, life kind of, you know, happens, and then, you know, slowly I started adding, you know, certain foods back in, and then I was, you know, before I realized it, you know, over the course of like almost 6 to 12 months, I had, you know, pretty much introduced sugars back into my diet, and we'll find out that, you know, sugar is the ultimate evil, you know, the ultimate addiction, ultimate evil of anything and everything that we can eat. And I think the doctors do a really good job of explaining that, you know, the 2 doctors I mentioned earlier. So I'll be sharing a lot of their content and videos and stuff to try to, you know, get that point across. But I think you'll see it also in the results as I post my daily videos. You will actually see me transform right before you. So, you know, I'd like to say that I failed, but you know, that's really what happened. I just, you know, I failed, but here I am again. So this time when I decided to do it, I said, why don't I go ahead and document everything from the beginning, just so, you know, somebody else can, you know, jump in, comment, you know, also learn from it and so forth. The other motivation behind that was when I was doing it before, I would get a lot of my friends, family, they would ask me, they'd be like, wow, Chris, you look great. What are you doing? And immediately I would just be like, blah, 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 and I just start rattling off, you know, keto simple, you can do this, you can do that. And before you know it, I'd send them an email or a text, and I'd have like 5 paragraphs, like, you should go out there and follow this person on YouTube, and you should do this and this, and it's so simple. But yet, when, you know, I'm saying it's simple, but then at the same time, I just sent them like, you know, a whole email full of stuff to do. And I think it's just, I get so excited about it that, you know, I just kind of throw it all at them at once. And then, you know, only a couple of my friends actually went off and did it and so forth. But this time I wanted it documented. I wanted to show the different flavors of keto that, you know, that I went through. Yes, there's multiple flavors of keto, you know, like clean keto versus dirty versus lazy. And then, you know, I'm going to start with, I actually do kind of all of them, but I start, you know, my ultimate goal is to get to obviously the best one, which is, you know, clean keto. But, you know, sometimes opportunity doesn't allow that. So I just wanted to, you know, kind of put that out there. All right, let's talk about, you know, what I felt or how I feel now. So, because they're pretty much parallel to from the first time. I shouldn't say parallel. I should say they're pretty much exactly the same as they were the first time when I decided to jump into keto. You know, I'm at a point right now where my body is so inflamed that, you know, I'm achy, I'm cranky, I'm tired, I don't sleep all that well. I've got, like I said, you know, crankiness, which, you know, you just tend to be, you know, crabby and stuff, and it really has a lot to do with the sugar and stuff that, you know, I'm addicted to. So, excuse me. With, you know, being addicted to sugar, you know, your body's constantly chasing that, that next fix of, that tastes good, that tastes good, that tastes good. Well, when I went on keto last time, it wasn't very long into it that, maybe a week or so, where those cravings just start to go away. And I thought that was probably the most amazing thing. It was completely different than low carb, because the idea is that you get rid of the sugars, aka glucose, fructose, all that stuff, but when inside your body, it's glucose. And then you replace it with burning ketones. And again, the doctors do a really good job. So you'll see me pointing you, towards those folks. And then also, people like me who give you kind of like the, hey, this is what I ate today, or this is what you should eat, or, and so forth. But you're switching your fuel, one thing for another. So you switch out of, constantly needing that fast burning glucose to a slower burning fuel like ketones, which is even better for your body. And it's actually more like what our ancestors used to, eat and so forth. So it's like anything else, it takes a little getting used to, but man, once you get into it, it's just amazing. That's why I'm doing it again, because the weight was almost a secondary goal after I got into it, because I felt so amazing. I'm about to turn 53 here, but when, a couple years ago, when I was really, like I said, knee deep into keto, actually a very short amount of time into it, the energy is just amazing. I felt like I was in my 20s again. I can't even explain how amazing that was. I don't even remember being in my teens or 20s thinking that, like, oh, I've got just so much energy, I'm going to get up and do this, that, and another. I'll tell you how much energy I had this last time doing keto. There was a point probably about 3 or 4 months into it that I just felt like I could do anything. And I'd remembered that, oh, you know what? I always wanted to do P90X. Well, first of all, I didn't do P90X. I did P90X3, which is the 30-minute version of it, because, I'm a busy person like most of you guys. So I actually did, and this is, to me, this is like the best. This was just icing on the cake, because I did 3 P90X3, I don't know if you want to call them circuits, programs, or whatever, but they're 13 weeks each. So I did 3 13-week complete, beginning to end, P90X3 classic circuits, or whatever they're called. And I was absolutely the strongest I've ever felt in my entire life. I'm not on here preaching exercise, because I 100% believe in that, where people say, weight is lost in the kitchen, not in the gym. So doing the whole exercise thing was just a way for me to curb or burn off a lot of the excess energy that I had. Yes, I'm not exaggerating, that much energy, so the rest of my life just kind of fell into place. I just didn't think about food anymore. It was an amazing relationship with food. It was, I didn't feel like I had to, get to the next meal. When I was, pretty far into it, I was doing lots of fasting along with it. A lot of the doctors like to promote fasting with it as well. Fasting is 50,000 times easier to do with keto than it is to try to do it with, a glucose-based diet, i.e., you're trying to do low calories or something like that, but you're still eating these sugars, so your body, really burns out quick. So, but yes, it was amazing. I'm so looking forward to getting back into that. And you will see at some point where I introduce fasting into it, and then you'll see me exercising and so forth. So one of the other things that that improved dramatically when I was doing keto was sleep. So sleep is one of the things that I will track in my series, which I'm going to show you here shortly. But it doesn't take long. Probably you'll start to get better night's sleep within 3 to 5 days, and I'm sure that's variable with everyone. But for me, I remember last time, like day 1, nothing really changed. Day 2, a little bit better. Day 3 got somewhat better, and then day 4, believe it or not, day 4, I had a cruddy night's sleep. I don't want to say anything bad on, like, because then my video will be like excluded. But, I had not a good night's sleep. And it wasn't because that I wasn't doing the right thing. It's because I was actually really wired. And, I just laid there just going, why am I awake? I'm doing this, new keto thing, and I'm supposed to be improving, but here I am struggling. Well, once I got past that, that 4th, 5th day, my sleep went back to, actually improved. It got better and better and better. So, but I wanted to just call out sleep specifically because that was certainly one of the big highlights, of it. And obviously the better you sleep, the more, helps with your energy as well. So there's a win-win-win-win-win all the way around with, most everything you do on this. And you'll see me again when I point you to, videos and so forth, that, I'll be pointing out why what the doctors are talking about here, and you can go out and digest it and then, come back, comment and tell me, hey, did you get this out of that? So we'll get to that here in a minute. So I'm sure I'm going to look back at this, day 0 video and think to myself, I should have told them that they were going to get this improvement and that improvement and so on and so forth. I'd like to think of everything that would motivate you or motivate me, but actually one came to me. So it's funny because it's related to it. So brain fog. I remember when I went into, after just a few weeks of being on keto, it just seemed like my mental acuity, my, ability to, work better, smarter, and so forth. I mean, I don't get the hesitations like I'm doing right now. And you might be like, hey, you're talking pretty good, Chris. Well, I know me, and I know I can do better. And I don't like brain fog. I don't like, struggling, to think of things and, oh, am I forgetting because I'm older, or am I forgetting because, my body's just struggling, with sugar and that particular addiction, because I've already been through it. I know sugar is the ultimate evil. Okay, I just talked about the why, why I'm doing this daily video series and, my motivations for going back into, keto again. So let's talk about what this daily video clip is daily video is going to be about. So my expectation for the daily video is, to make it as quick and concise as possible for you. So, and for me. So, I expect it to be, somewhere between, maybe 5 to 8 minutes tops. So you'll see me come on. The first thing I'll do is I'll introduce myself again. I'll tell you what day it is. And then the very first thing you're going to see after, that short introduction is I'm going to do what's called a daily actions clip. Now, I think some other YouTubers or people online, they like to call this the B-roll footage. And the reason they call that, I guess, is because it's not part of this part of the video. It's actually stuff that I'm going to show you that I do. So it will literally be a series of pictures and actions that I take throughout the day. So it'll tell you what time I get up. It'll tell you if I've done any kind of testing, like a lot of us folks who do keto like to do, check our ketones. If you kind of get really into it, you're going to be checking your glucose and your ketones just to kind of see, where you're falling, and how well didn't mean to fall. I mean, like your numbers are dropping, your ketones are going up, your sugar's going down, and that you're really kicking butt. It'll show when I eat, exactly what I eat, the fat, carbs, protein of what it is I'm eating at that given time. When I say when, I mean the frequency. So one thing that I like to do a lot of when I start, what I remember the last time when I started on keto is that I was so addicted to sugar, which I feel like a lot of us are, that I was kind of concerned that I was going to be hungry, and I didn't want to be hungry. So I ate like a ton, that first week. So I kind of, my goal was I'm going to replace, all the sugar cravings by just keeping myself full. And believe it or not, that actually worked for me. It was all, my goal was keep my, carbs down and just, switch one for the other, and certainly it worked and stuff. But sorry, I'm getting off track here. So it'll show, if I did any exercise, if I did anything else that's important to me, like, perhaps meditation, or, it will also show, like, if I've done any kind of exercise. It'll show, that includes, like, oh, I just went for a walk with the kids or something like that. So it's very quick, it's very fast, and there's no dialogue in it. So actually, let me just show you what an example is. All right, as you can see, it's boom, 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 boom. I've made it fast. So I kind of hoping that, people were just like, okay, I want to see what he ate. And each day after my daily clip has, been shown, I'm going to recap my day for you and just kind of tell you if I, what I struggled with. I'm going to again keep this very short, but just, I'm trying to think of something I might say. It might be, wow, I thought today was going to be pretty easy, but typical life gets in the way, and I wasn't able to eat for this long. Or, wow, I ate a lot more than I thought I would. Because I remember when I started fasting, what happened was I was like, man, I'm actually doing it. I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry. I'm not hungry. And I get to like 5 o'clock, and I'm like, I'll just eat a ton. But I was still keto. That was the important part, that I still ate keto, and I was still losing weight, which is one of the things that I think a lot of people would do keto for. So the next thing that, I'm going to cover in my daily clip is I'm going to go over my goals, like where I'm at with my goals, was I successful, and so forth. So more on my goals here in a second. For me, there's two different types of goals that I have. There's goals that are long-term goals, which a lot of us think of as, I'm going to lose this much weight. So, by the end of the series, I want to be at whatever weight, or by this month I want to be here. So those are obviously important goals for me, and I have a lot of long-term goals. Long-term goal, I want to be able to be at a certain weight. Long-term goal, I want to be able to fast X amount of days a week. This is going to sound insane, but this is something that I started to do before, and I learned from Dr. Bosworth, or Dr. Bos is what they call her, but is to get to a point where you can do 8 3-day fasts. Not in a row, but you would do it like successive weeks or something like that, to help your body kind of reset itself. I got to a point where I did a couple 3-day fasts in 2 weeks in a row. That's one of my long-term goals. Another long-term goal is to get back into doing the P90X3 stuff that I told you about earlier. I really, really, really want to put exercise back in, but not necessarily to lose weight. The exercise, like I said, is to get strong, because as you get older, you do feel like your body's breaking down, and so that's very, very important to me. So what are the other types of goals? Well, I have goals that will help me on this journey. So I'm going to share with you each day. I'm going to bring up, I have a spreadsheet that I created that in a little scale that kind of keeps me sane, that because I think sometimes if you go into something and you're very rigid about, like, you can only have this many carbs, and you can only do this, and you have to do this, it gets very, very daunting. I never do well with that. I've got to have some flexibility. I got to know that if for some reason that day doesn't go well, that I still did good, or I did okay. So let me get that spreadsheet up here, and we'll take a look at it together. All right, so what you're looking at right now is what I call my OK-GBBB goals. This is something that I made up for myself. It's not anything, that is out there that you'll go find or anything like that. And let me kind of explain, how I came up with this and how does this fit into my weight loss? Well, for me, I don't like rigidity, but I also got to have like some kind of, something I got to do daily and weekly to kind of keep myself on a guided plan here and so forth. So let's take a look at this first column here. So before I do that first column, let me just take a second and explain. You see the words pit of success on the spreadsheet. So I worked with this guy one time, and in our industry that I'm in, and he was like, hey, make sure you do this and this and this and this, and he would just kind of drop these things all the time, and he would always say, we want to set ourselves up for a pit of success, which means that if we do things to make it easier on ourselves, then we'll be more likely to be successful. I know he didn't invent anything new, he just kind of cleverly threw a different title on it. But I mean, he's right, we do it all the time. I mean, I have I'm the one out of my wife and I that actually gets the kids up in the morning, gets them off to school, packs their lunches and all that stuff. For me, I like to have certain things done, laid out, ready to go, just so things flow smoothly. That's to me what this is like. I'm kind of setting myself up with things, or organizing in a way that will make it flow a little bit better. So when I look at this, I see, well, first of all, let me back up and say there are 5 categories that I've got on here. Is that right? 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I actually have 6 on there, but we'll talk about what that last one is here in a second. But there's 5 categories for me that helps me with my weekly / daily short-term goals to get to where I want to be, keto-wise. You'll see right off the bat, I don't have weight on here. The reason I don't have weight on here is because, to me, that's a long-term goal. It's actually, will just naturally occur while I'm doing keto and so forth. And I will also be showing you daily what my weight is, which I'm a little nervous about, because I'm one of those people that never weigh myself daily, because I couldn't handle I didn't lose anything, or, oh my gosh, I gained a pound. I figured for this, I want to show everything, I want to show the ups, I want to show the downs, and, just talk about, because it also helped me adjust for the next day, but it's going to be a little scary. I've created these categories. If you want to use something like this, you can have any number of categories. That's kind of what that last category is that says personal growth, other. Some people may be like, Chris, I'm very spiritual. You may want to be like, I want to pray 3 times a day, or I like to do this. Okay, well then you're going to set aside 3, whatever it is that you need to do, and somehow measure it. So how does the OK-GBBB fall into it? Well, OK stands for, obviously, the word OK. G stands for good. B stands for better. And then best. And then you'll see one over there is called beast mode. And so what I've done is I said, okay, for me to be successful this week, be okay at least, I would like to try to get 5 to 6 hours sleep a night. That would be great for me. And most nights I'm probably at 5 hours, but they're not usually 5 good hours. Sometimes, I'll wake up, I don't know if it's necessarily, snoring or whatever, but I'll wake up and it just makes for a really cruddy night. When I was on keto before, I remember I could sleep, solid like 7-8 hours. I got to the point where I was sleeping solid 6 or 7, honestly, and I would feel amazing. I think it's that getting older thing and needing less sleep, but anyway, it's on my goals, and there's not really anything that I'm going to do specifically that's going to, hey, I'm doing this for the sleep part of it. I'm just measuring it. I'm just saying, how's it looking each day? So I'm tracking that. If I do everything right, I know from doing keto before that this will get better over time automatically. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm so looking forward to that. So I think I jumped off of the pit of success thing, but anyway, this is my pit of success, having a flexible set of goals where I can adjust to if I have to, so anyway, the next category here is eating keto. So, and you'll see I put in parentheses, it has like ATM, that means kind of like at the moment, so at this moment or this week, I'm wanting to follow this style of eating keto. I'm not doing any fasting. So if you look at that today, well, first of all, look at it as it goes across. Fasting, not worried about it because that's a future thing, but I wanted it on my sheet so I could see myself going towards that. Style. So you'll see in there that, to be okay, I'm going to eat lazy or dirty keto. And I've got that all the way across the week because I know weeks 1, 2, and 3, for me to do clean keto probably is not going to be realistic. So I want these goals to be realistic. I want to set myself up for that pit of success. So for me, I could hit, I guess, beast mode by just eating lazy keto. But anyway, let me get to the next category, macros. This is where I'm concerned about, like, am I doing the 75, 25, 20, and then 5% breakdown of my, fat protein carbs. So my first 2 or 3 weeks, I am only really might be 2 weeks. I'm only going to be really concerned about the number of carbs. I'm almost going to kind of treat it like Atkins diet to some degree, where I'm going to focus on getting the carbs down, and then, so for me, that measurement of the number of carbs tells me how good I'm doing on my scale. So if I can do less than 60 carbs for a given day, then I'm okay. If I can do like less than 50 carbs, then I'm doing good. If I do, less than 40, better, and you kind of see the little pattern I set myself up for here. If I can get down to less than 20 carbs, wow, I'm kicking butt. So I remember watching, I think it was one of Dr. Ba's videos where she was just like, just go for, just do 20. Actually, she had even said that you could just fast and you would be you get your body into burning ketosis faster. And I think she was also saying that it's probably not realistic because that would be really hard. I think for me, trying to shoot for 20 the first day, I might be able to do it, but I think that would be unrealistic, for me for that first day, remembering what it was like for me before. So that's what I'm looking at. So you'll see I have like the word today here. I'm showing you what I'll be showing you on the daily video. So this might be day 1, this might be day 6. So you'll also see that under eating keto, I put in there a category called learning, because when I started out with this, I didn't know what keto was. I didn't know that fat was such an important part of it. And that the goal was to do, get your ketones, get your ketones up, your sugar down, and all that stuff. So I did like what a lot of us do. I just Google it, get on YouTube, watch somebody's videos, and then just keep learning and learning and learning. So for me, I have this as one of my goals, one of my ways of setting up my pitted success. So not during my goals, but at the end of, after I get done talking about my goals in my daily video clip, I'm going to make a video recommendation every day and to just comment on the video. I think it would, for me to sit there and say to you guys, hey, I mentioned this thing called lazy keto, or I mentioned this thing called dirty keto, or that there's no need to count calories, or whatever it is. I'll mention it and tell you what video that I watched, but I'm going to recommend that video for you to watch. And then I'm hoping that in the comments or, question, section that you can, maybe make some recommendations to me. So, the best way to be successful, at keto or anything really is just to learn as much as you can about it. And I'm hoping that what I can do is just kind of sort through some of the stuff and show you what'll help. So maybe you'll like the video I recommend, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll look at it and say, hey, Chris, I got a better video for please share that with me. I mentioned earlier that one of my buddies is the one that got me into keto, and he was very thin, and it was really surprising. I think that, for some people would think that he would not do keto. The number one reason that he did keto was he had migraines, and he had read somewhere that migraines, can be triggered by, sugar and such, and he tried it, and lo and behold, it worked for him. So to me, there might be, people on keto or who are finding benefit from keto that you would never expect. When I was watching Dr. Boz, she was referring to the, to the way they treated, and they probably still do, treat people with, who have epileptic seizures and stuff, that putting them on a keto diet actually removes, it can actually really tame down. I thought that was fascinating. So my son, he was actually had a little bit of a behavior issue, in his early years of elementary school, and this was just like 4 years ago. So obviously when I was doing keto, I thought, well, why don't we just cut back on his sugars and see what happens? So we actually did what I call elements of keto for him. He ate a very low carb breakfast and lunch, and then, he could have some, normal, what I would call your standard American diet in the evening. And it worked tremendously well. I mean, because he wouldn't go to school all sugared up and, and so forth, and it works. So I think there's a place for, for keto for everyone doing some level of it. But anyway, I'm off the topic of learning here, but that's, I brought up my buddy because he recommended videos to me back then. He was like, oh, you should see this person online. And that's, that's how we would just constantly share stuff back and forth. I thought that was really cool. So, okay. So the next section on my, goals that I'll talk about daily. And again, when I do this, I'm going to be like, boom, 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 boom. My daily video is going to be really quick, not long like this video here. So in my daily clip, which you already just watched a little sample of, it might have been one of the real days, because when I record and edit these, but you're going to see this guy. So this guy is, where I log my stuff, quickly for the day. Not to say that I would never do it like in an app or anything like that, but this is in any of the pictures, most of my pictures, because it's, I'm gonna, when I go out and I get a snack, I'm gonna be like, okay, 15 pepperoni, this, that, and another, and then, I'll log it. If I meditate for 5 minutes or whatever it is that I do, I'm gonna put it in my little thing, and then if I wanna store it in something more elegant later, I'll do it. So you're gonna see that. So for me, starting out, I would be just fine winging it. Like, hey, you know, I think I ate about 45, 50 carbs today just because I was kind of mentally counting. That would be good for me, okay for me. What would be good is if I actually wrote it down. So I'll probably actually write it down, but again, I'm kind of setting myself up for a pit of success here, so I'm not trying to get too overly aggressive or whatever with my weekly goals. You'll see the next one is like, write it down with an asterisk. I think, you know, for me, that would be like, don't just kind of write it down, write down some detail. Like maybe you'll write down, besides the carbs, you'll write down the fat and the protein instead of just one of them. That way, when you look back later, you can see that you actually put a, you know, you tracked quite a bit of detail. So to be in the best category for me is log it. And what do you mean by log it? Well, that could be maybe using an app like Chronometer or MyFitnessPal, or, you know, put it into a spreadsheet that you've created, or, you know, something like that. You know, so that's just kind of like, again, these are my goals, my levels. You could come up with whatever you wanted. You don't even have to use this, but this is what I'll be, you know, referencing quickly each day. So, and then you'll see that log it asterisk. That just means I'm like really super logging it. Like maybe I'm tracking lots of stuff and on multiple applications and so forth. That might be a little insane, but I'm just trying to, you know, tell you that you can have your own pit of success with your own level and not worry about killing yourself going into keto. You can be realistic about it. Okay, next category you're going to see on here is meditation relaxation. Now this is totally, just like the last category, one of my categories I kind of find valuable. I had lost weight before, actually just trying to get stress out of my life, so I did a lot of meditation. I remember meditating like 3 times a day, and I'd spend 15, 20 minutes each day. And then after about 3 or 4 weeks, it was amazing. I could actually, like, I remember just like have my cravings were going away and so forth. This was about 10 years ago. So for me, I did this the last time I did keto too. I started doing, you know, some additional relaxation meditation stuff, and it really did help a lot. Again, my goal, not something necessarily you may want to do. You'll see in here that on the example I have for today, I put 5 minutes. That means I did 2 5-minute, you know, just sit down, just kind of relax, quiet. You know, some people might use a Muse. Some people, may download some kind of, you know, self-affirmation, I wouldn't say video, but recording, and follow that. And then to get into the higher level categories, are you doing it more than your okay goal, and are you doing it more frequently during the week? Because I would be happy if I, you know, just did it a few times a week and a couple times a day, and I think that would really, 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 you know, help my cause, you know, help my pit of success. Lastly is the category of exercise. I think I mentioned one of my long-term goals is get back to doing, you know, where I could do the P90X3 and just kind of like, you know, get back into that, because that was really, really important to me. For now, I'm not really too concerned about exercise in this initial part of my journey. I know it'll come. You know, I'm just looking forward to getting back, you know, to that. So, all right. The last category you see on here, I just put as an example, has nothing to do with, you know, me per se, but I talked to my brother, you know, when I was talking about doing this series, and he goes, "Oh yeah, you know." One thing that's important to him is he likes to do a lot of personal growth. I mean, he likes to listen to a lot of, a lot of people on, I don't know why I can't think of the app right now. So, but anyway, I'll think of it here in a second, and hopefully I don't have to edit it back in, but, anyway, he'll listen to, I just remembered it. He'll listen to people on Audible, you know, different, you know, like personal growth folks, and it really does help him. So that may be one of your personal goals. I'm going to do all this stuff, and then I'm also going to try to listen to these 3 people this week, or, et cetera and whatnot. So I just wanted to say that I'm not, reinventing the wheel here. I'm just showing you a different way to ride the bike. So this hopefully gives you some, guidance on how you might want to approach keto. All right, we're almost done with the day 0 video here. I wanted to just quickly mention that how long this series was going to last. I didn't really mention that. So is it going to be 30 days, Chris? Is it going to be 60? Is it going to be 90? Is it going to be 120? Or is it going to be 180? I definitely envision that it's probably going to be at least 90 days. The reason it's kind of variable at this point is because I'm not basing it on like one specific long-term goal. I'm not going to stop it like when I get to 165, or I'm not going to stop it here. I feel like it's going to reach a point where you might be logging in and looking at it and going, you kind of just did the same thing all week. Well, I don't want to be that guy that just puts a video out that's the same thing that you just watched the day before and the day before and the day before. I want you to try to get value out of it. So when it comes to a point where it's like like say 90 days and I start to see the same thing every day, I'm probably going to shorten it to like 3 days a week, and then maybe 2 days a week, and then some recap, or something like that. My goal is to continue to talk about keto, indefinitely on here, and just kind of show, this is what happens when you do get to your goal, and this is what you keep doing to, keep ketoing on. So I'm hoping you'll stick around and keto with me. All right, so that's basically my day 0 video, folks. I want to wrap up by saying, thank you for joining me today. If you would, please take time to like, and then if you're going to be ketoing with me, take time, subscribe, and also please take time to leave some comments or questions. Tell me if you agree or disagree. I'm really looking forward to that feedback. And when you do leave your feedback, I just ask for one thing: please be a coach, not a critic. We're all out here just trying to learn. I'm not perfect, so I'm looking forward to this journey, and I'm hoping you're joining me, in keto with me. Thank you.